our life really consists of steps, one step after another. And each one of those steps, the steps get higher and harder as you grow older.
Millions know Sylvester Stallone as the fearless hero who always gets back up, the man who turned impossible odds into some of Hollywood's greatest success stories. From Rocky to Rambo, he became the face of strength, resilience, and never giving up. But the truth is, the hardest battles of his life never happened on a movie set. A devastating birth injury left one side of his face permanently paralyzed. Every word he spoke sounded different. Every smile looked uneven. And for years, people mocked him for the way he looked and spoke. Then, when life seemed complete, he suffered the devastating loss of his beloved son. So how did a broken boy become one of Hollywood's greatest icons? And how is he still standing despite everything life has thrown at him? By the end of this story, you'll never look at Sylvester Stallone the same way again. Let's dive in. His first battle. Born on July 6, 1946 in New York City, Sylvester Stallone entered the world under difficult circumstances. A problem during birth damaged the nerves on the left side of his face, leaving him with the slurred speech and uneven smile that later became his trademark. But that was only the beginning. His mother, Jacqueline Stallone, and his father, Frank Stallone Sr., had a troubled relationship, and their home rarely felt peaceful. Instead of love and encouragement, Sylvester often heard harsh words that made him feel unwanted. School became another challenge as classmates mocked the way he looked and spoke. Even so, he held on to one dream. He wanted to become someone people would remember, and every setback quietly prepared him for a bigger fight. However, his toughest days were still ahead. After leaving home, he hoped life would finally improve. Instead, New York tested him even harder. With almost no money, he slept in bus stations and empty corners, using his coat as a blanket. He visited acting agencies whenever he could, but rejection followed him everywhere. People criticized his voice, mocked his appearance, and insisted he would never become a leading actor. Some even advised him to settle for small background roles. Still, he refused to let those words define his future. He began writing his own stories because he believed someone had to see the hero hidden inside him. As his financial situation worsened, he sold almost everything he owned. In one of the hardest moments of his life, he even sold his beloved dog because he could no longer afford to feed him. Then, life finally offered a glimmer of hope. While struggling to build his acting career, Sylvester met photographer and aspiring actress Sasha Chak through mutual friends in New York. Their friendship gradually grew into love, and they married in 1974. Sasha stood beside him during his most difficult years, encouraging him when almost no one else believed in his dream. That support gave him the confidence to finish the screenplay that would soon change his life forever. Rocky changed everything. In 1975, Sylvester Stallone watched the unforgettable fight between Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner. While most people saw a boxing match, he saw hope. He realized that true victory does not always belong to the strongest. Sometimes it belongs to the person who refuses to give up. Inspired by that moment, he locked himself away and poured every disappointment, every rejection, and every dream into a screenplay called Rocky. He finished the first draft in just 3.5 days, then spent weeks rewriting it until it finally felt right. Studios liked the script almost immediately. They offered him $25,000, then $100,000, followed by offers reaching up to $360,000. It was more money than he had ever imagined. Still, he refused every offer because one thing mattered more than the paycheck. He wanted to play Rocky himself. Everyone called him crazy, including his own agents. Still, he refused to walk away. His determination slowly changed minds. The producers finally agreed, although they offered him very little money and filled his contract with conditions that could remove him from the film if things went wrong. Sylvester gave everything he had to bring Rocky to life, refusing to let anyone else play the role he had written for himself. In 1976, Rocky arrived in theaters and became far more than a successful movie. Crowds filled cinemas, critics praised the film, and people everywhere fell in love with the underdog who refused to stay down. Almost overnight, Sylvester went from sleeping in bus stations to becoming one of Hollywood's biggest stars. The film earned Academy Award recognition, and the dream he had protected for years finally became real. The world celebrated his victory, but success never erased the wounds he carried inside. The price of success. Fame finally gave Sylvester Stallone everything he had chased for years, but every success demanded something in return. Stallone refused to let stunt doubles carry out the biggest action scenes because he wanted every punch, fall, and fight to feel real. That decision earned the respect of audiences, yet it placed his own body on the line every time the cameras rolled. Every new film pushed him a little further than the last. His greatest enemy was no longer rejection, it was the price of staying believable. And then, something terrible happened. While filming Rocky IV, Sylvester asked Dolph Lundgren to stop holding back and hit him as hard as possible. Lundgren landed a powerful blow to his chest that slammed his heart against his ribcage. Soon afterward, Sylvester felt heart palpitations and was rushed to the hospital. Doctors discovered damage to the pericardial sac, an injury they usually saw after serious head-on car collisions. He spent 9 days in the hospital before he finally recovered enough to leave. Broken bones, fractured neck, and surgeries became part of his everyday life. His family watched him leave for another operation without knowing how it would end. Sylvester often hid his condition behind a smile because he never wanted anyone to see how much those years had taken from him. Hollywood saw an unstoppable action hero, while his family saw someone constantly trying to put himself back together. Every scar reminded him that each movie demanded another sacrifice. Still, he kept walking onto every set because quitting never felt like an option. Even after surviving injuries that could have ended his career and his life, nothing prepared him for the loss waiting beyond the cameras, where no amount of courage could protect him. The fallout. In July 2012, everything changed in a way no father could ever prepare for. His 36-year-old son, Sage Stallone, was found dead at his home in Los Angeles. Reports said his body had remained there for several days before anyone found him. The news spread around the world within hours. Fans mourned the loss of Sylvester's son, but behind the headlines stood a father trying to understand a loss that no movie could ever prepare him for. He tried to stay strong. After Sage's funeral, Sylvester admitted that grief never truly leaves. He said it rises into the clouds for a while, only to return when something brings it back. This wasn't a role he could rewrite. There was no second take. And suddenly, everything around him began to look different. Family became more important than awards, fame, or another successful film. He later said that life adds things until about 40, but after that, it slowly becomes a story of loss. Friends move away, careers change, people you love leave. That realization stayed with him every single day. However, just as things started to improve, life tested him once again. Only a few months after losing Sage, one of his daughters needed life-saving surgery. Sylvester watched his family break down as doctors prepared to take her away. He later admitted that hearing someone say, "Kiss your baby goodbye," was one of the hardest moments he had ever faced. Looking back, he confessed that he sometimes wondered if making another movie had really been worth the time he lost with his children. That thought changed him forever. He returned to Philadelphia with his daughters, the city where so much of his journey had begun. Standing there, he shared the words he had written for Rocky Balboa years earlier. "It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." Every chapter of Sylvester Stallone's life seemed to end with another challenge. He overcame rejection only to face injuries. He recovered only to endure heartbreaking loss. Even after life tested him again and again, he refused to stop moving forward. In the end, Sylvester Stallone's greatest victory was never becoming Rocky. It was learning that real strength comes from standing beside the people you love, no matter what life takes away. So after hearing all this, which part of his journey inspired you the most? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story fascinating, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And subscribe for more amazing stories like this. We'll see you in the next one.